Stop Musk union busting.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Remember what your mama said about false conclusions you may draw. Don't let Trump back on Twitter if you have any good sense at all. Don't let the Constitution to justify a flaw in your nonsense reasoning that MAGA nuts won't draw. Which side are you on? 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 Computational propaganda. Computers run amok, spiking disinformation as democracy gets fucked. You're good at math and physics, but not at common sense. Don't put Trump on Twitter, free speech at our expense. Which side are you on? 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 Okay, everybody want to hear which side are you on now? Can you sing it? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? I can't hear you. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? So I'm worried about computational propaganda. Computers run amok, spiking disinformation as democracy gets fucked. You're good at math and physics, boy, but not at common sense. Don't put Trump on Twitter, free speech at our expense. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
My name is Steve Zeltzer. I'm with the United Front Committee for Labor Party and also with Work Week. We're having this rally press conference in front of Twitter today to basically call out Elon Musk and his effort to buy Twitter. He says he's about democracy and freedom, but in reality, the conditions at Tesla, which he owns, are terrible for black workers, for women, for other workers. In fact, the black workers have called it the Plantation. So we believe that the workers at Tesla have a right to organize, and also workers at Twitter should organize, especially if Musk takes over Twitter, that they need a union to organize. We're also believe that social media is being used to propagate right-wing fascists, and he wants to put these racist and other elements back on Twitter. So that's a threat, particularly what happened in Buffalo with the racist murder of the blacks in the supermarket and others, and also what just happened in Texas. There's a racist campaign, and there's a high degree of mental illness, social conditions leading to severe problems for people. And this is a social crisis. It's not going to be solved by supporting more billionaires. That's part of the problem. It is a problem of the billionaires. So our next speaker is Lisa. And Lisa has been was a Tesla worker. She had some experience, and I want to say that we had another action actually at Fremont, and the action was against the conditions during COVID, because one of the things that has happened is that this COVID pandemic, even when there was a shelter in place in Alameda County, Elon Musk was able to continue to operate. And even small businesses were being forced to shut down, but Elon Musk was continuing to operate. And he not only was he continuing to operate with 10,000 workers, but also he said that, arrest me. This is what Elon Musk said, arrest me. And what happened was he wasn't arrested. He wasn't arrested. As a matter of fact, Gavin Newsom, the governor, said he can continue to operate. So apparently Elon Musk is above the law. And we need to realize that many of the workers who work at Tesla are not able to live in the Bay Area. They live in Stockton and Tracy in the Central Valley. So what Elon Musk does, the company does, is they have buses that take the workers from that plant to the Central Valley. Well, by the fact that in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a shelter in place, these workers were contaminated, they were sick, and they were being bused to the Central Valley, where they were contaminating their families and the community in the Central Valley. And we know, as a matter of fact, that at Foster Farms plant in Merced, workers were dying from COVID. They were infecting their families. And this transmission of COVID is a deadly threat to people in California, in the country, and the world. And yet Elon Musk refused to shut down his plant. He basically said, I'm above the law. And he wasn't prosecuted, he wasn't held accountable. And that's one of the things that we see with the billionaires in this country. They violate the law, they conspire, in the case of Elon Musk, they conspire to avoid workers' comp payments to workers. That's workers' comp fraud. That's illegal. You can't conspire to prevent workers from getting health and safety. Again, there was no prosecution by California, by Gavin Newsom, of the fact that he committed workers' comp fraud. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a billionaire who's allowed to operate above the law. We're talking about workers at Tesla who are paying the cost of that, them and their families. And that is something that we are addressing right here today in front of Twitter in relationship to what Elon Musk is doing. So our first speaker is going to be Lisa, who's going to talk about her experience at Tesla. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, my name is Lisa Dans, and I'm a former worker at Tesla, and I worked there for about 5.5 years as a software engineer. I joined Tesla because I care very passionately about solving climate change, and I saw the difference that the company was making, and I wanted to be a part of that. And I still see that difference, and I'm still grateful for that. And it's just so unfortunate that it's tainted by having somebody like Elon Musk in charge who goes on Twitter tears insulting entire groups of people and doesn't take it seriously when there's racism in his plant, and likes to pretend that he's taking it seriously, but then still lets the conditions fester. So I eventually left because I was just so frustrated at Elon. And I'm just going to tell a couple of things that I witnessed personally related to his union busting activities. I first found out about the major union effort when there was a company-wide email that was denouncing a blog post that was made by a pro-union person. So they were basically trying to undermine the testimony of somebody who was in favor of a union. And not long after that, they started, you could tell that the union was gaining power because they were pushing so hard against it. And they, you would go to the bathroom, and when you're sitting on the toilet, you see on the wall of the door that closes the stall a flyer that talked about why you should not sign a union card, and it was a bunch of baloney. It was I mean, this was years ago, but I remember specifically them claiming that signing a union card is like giving your address to a stranger because you have to put the address on your union card, I guess. And they also mentioned, they were really emphasizing the fee, the cost of the union dues, even though, of course, if you know much about unions, the idea is that the contract that you negotiate more than compensates for the dues that you're paying. So it was clearly just, the company, disinformation, the company not wanting to lose power. So there was that, there were those, and then it was widely reported that during their big layoff several years ago, that they were really targeting people who had been working on the union organizing efforts. And there were some very clear-cut cases. I'm not going to go into detail because the people involved can tell that better than I can. But what I will say is that I witnessed the chilling effect that it had on the unionizing effort. Like, they were very successful at stamping out people's will to continue, which I think is very frustrating. I talked to people, just in the cafeteria after that. I remember asking somebody who had joined, I guess, after that incident, after the layoff incident, and asking what he thought of unionizing. And he basically said, I'm not going to touch that. I don't want to lose my job. I don't even want to have this conversation. And so unfortunately, the illegal union busting tactics worked. And it takes so long to prove the illegality, even though there's finally been, some supposed accountability. In the meantime, they successfully stamped out the spark. And so that's, I just wanted to share that with anybody who wonders what it's like to work at a company where Elon's in charge. That's part of it. When COVID started, I mean, everybody everywhere was a little bit confused about what was going on at the very beginning, but there were already clear class lines being drawn within the company, like before masks were available to everybody. So this was way back at the beginning when we didn't even have the amount of PPE. The masks were only available to the workers in the office, which on the one hand, I guess we know now that probably workers in that enclosed space were more vulnerable, but it definitely seemed like a class issue at the time that they were basically giving the masks to the white-collar workers only. Right. He claimed that he thought that that COVID would not infect more than a tenth of the U.S. population. No, not a tenth, sorry, a tenth of a percent of the U.S. population, which that would be, 300,000? So, more than that Americans have died from COVID, so let alone being infected. So he was just wildly off with his predictions, and it really felt like sort of a profit-motivated desire to downplay it. But he still has a lot of people who just support him anyway. Yeah, so, right. But yeah, he made people keep working even when it wasn't safe, in violation of the health orders, which were then lifted a week later. And it was really hard to get information. Like, they kept sending these kind of propaganda emails to the company about like, oh, we haven't had any infections and we haven't had any transmissions. But at that time, testing was widely unavailable. So how did we know? We had no idea. And, if somebody did get infected, you could claim that they weren't infected at work. So it was a mess.
My name is Evan Sutton. I have never worked for Tesla, but I do have a lot of experience with the UFCW Local 5 at the local Piazza store. There are a lot of union myths out there that, you'll have to pay too much or that the union won't represent you. I'm going to tell you this, those are nothing more than just lies, slander, corporation lies, all that junk. Thing is, with the contract that my new union won, it compensated around 180% of what the union dues actually were. So that's a pay raise of a huge percentage. Yeah, I know we're here to protest Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter. As much as it is disgusting, I want to propose a more radical solution. How many of you think that Tesla and Twitter and all these social media and large industry companies should be democratic? How many of you think they should be worker-owned? How many of you think that there should not be a middleman mafia taking all of the profits that you worked for and splurging it on buying companies, taking trips to space, and doing absolutely nothing to the working class? Thank you. Exactly. I want to live in a future where every single company is worker-owned. Our economy needs to be based on worker self-management and not extreme capitalist exploitation. Yeah, let me explain. Folks, pay attention. Folks, pay attention. What if I told y'all that every time you guys go to work, I don't know if you guys have a job, but every time you guys go to work, you guys are being stolen from. Let me explain. Let's say you guys make $100 flipping cheeseburgers at McDonald's or making coffee at Starbucks every single day. You don't get that $100. What that goes to is your CEOs, the shareholders, whatever bosses you may. Oh yes, don't forget them. But if you guys joined a worker-owned cooperative, or you guys formed a more radical union to pressure your boss to resign and form a worker-owned cooperative, tell you what, let's just say if Apple alone became a worker-owned cooperative, each worker would make around $475,000. Think about that, every man a king. So, I do like unions, but they have one flaw. They're not radical enough. We used to live in an age where unions pushed for self-management of their own businesses. Not just basic things like wage increases and more accountability. We actually wanted worker ownership of the means of production.
But let me know if you guys got the move on going to space.
However, since that movement, since the start of neoliberalism and the collapse of the communist bloc, unions have been slowly moving away from worker self-management and more towards sort of a social democracy to work within capitalism. That's not what we want. That's absolutely not what we want. I'll tell you, as a representative of both the Democratic Socialists of America and an aspiring member of the industrial workers of the world, we need an economy that's based upon workers and cooperation, and not an economy based on capitalism and huge CEO profits.
We're here today in front of Twitter. One of the things we're also concerned about is that journalists who use Twitter will be targeted by Musk if he takes it over. Journalist has been a platform where journalists and others, activists, could use, and that's threatened with Musk taking it over. As we know from his work at Tesla, what he did to the workers, he targeted those workers who wanted to join a union. He fired 700 of them illegally. He was never held accountable for that union busting. So our next performer is going to be Francis, who's going to sing a song about this issue.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no union busting turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no union busting turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no anti-safety laws turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no anti-safety laws turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no anti-black racism turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no anti-black racism turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no anti-working class turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no slave labor at Tesla turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no racism turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no racism turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land.
Great. Thank you, Francis. And music is part of the struggle, part of solidarity, building solidarity for working people, for uniting people, and to bring working people together here and around the world, because this is an international struggle. Tesla operates around the world. He also is operating in outer space. He wants to go to outer space, and his trips to outer space have been paid for by the United States government and Obama when they privatized NASA and gave him billions of dollars to start SpaceX. So this is again part of the privatization of NASA and public services that Musk has done. He's also got money from California for his plant. So the subsidy of Elon Musk takes place at the same time the workers at his factory have no rights, which is an issue that we're raising here at this rally in front of Tesla. So our next speaker is Ricardo Ortiz. He's with United Public Workers for Action, and he's a labor researcher from Puerto Rico. Welcome, Ricardo.
Here exposing the corrupt billionaire racist Elon Musk, whose relationship with all the political capitalist parties of this country is very well known. As previous speakers have mentioned, during the beginning of the pandemic and through the first year of the pandemic, there was a lockdown in the whole country. And Elon Musk, while the governor was Gavin Newsom, a Democrat that had been sponsored and pampered by the millionaires and billionaires, allowed this criminal to keep his plant open. And workers died because of that, with no protection, and his plant is in Fremont. So, you know, right here in this city, we are invaded, we are occupied by billionaires. We got Zuckerberg, we got, the Fishers. I mean, the list goes on. And guess what? They are under the sponsorship of the Democratic Party. You know, the Democratic Party, which is not a friend of the working class. Zuckerberg, right here, even owns the city hospital. It was given to him by the local capitalist parties. And the present mayor, Landon Breed, in the capitalist Democratic primary, she supported none other than Bloomberg, a billionaire, for president of the United States. So this issue is not a matter of Republicans and Democrats. They are both in bed with the Musk and Zuckerbergs and Bill Gates of this world exploiting the workers. So right now we got a recession coming that even bourgeois economies, persistent economies, banks have forecasts. And you know what are they going to do? They're going to take benefits from us, the workers. They are trying to reduce our salaries. They're trying to get rid of our benefits that were fought hard and long by the working class. So we gotta do something about this. We gotta build the Workers' Party that is not in the pocket of the Democrats nor the Republicans, because they are pro-war. Right now, the Democratic Party administration is supporting the criminal war in Ukraine. They are behind the NATO intervention in Ukraine. And they're just sending billions of dollars, while people in this country can barely afford to pay rent, can barely afford to pay their medical bills. And they are supposedly concerned with the people of Ukraine. That is a complete lie. That is a complete falsehood. The United States and NATO have been provoking Russia into this war. And let me say something to people so people understand. In any ways, we support the criminal Putin, corrupt, capitalist crackpot. No way in hell. We also oppose Russia's invasion of the Ukraine. But we gotta make clear that the United States and Germany, France, Britain, arms industries are benefiting from this war. They are selling weapons to the Ukraine. They are sending weapons to the Ukraine. And you know from where those weapons come from? It comes from your money, from your taxes. So we got to oppose this war. We gotta start building an anti-war movement, because they are in their crazy drive for expansion they can lead us to World War III, and that would be a catastrophe. So right now, as I mentioned, we got a so-called, Democratic Party in power. I give you some news about sleepy Joe Biden. During his first year in office, he has deported already more people than Trump did in his first year. That's a sleepy Joe Biden for you, the supposedly friend of labor, the supposedly friend of the people. No, and it's beyond the fact that it's him. It is that in this country exists one party with two wings, and that party is the horrendous system of capitalism, and has two wings: the Republicans, which is the conservative wing, and the Democrats, which are the so-called liberal wing. Unfortunately, we got to keep insisting on this point. The leadership of the trade unions is in the pockets of the Democratic Party politicians, and we got to turn that around. All the workers should start building opposition caucuses. We got to build revolutionary caucuses to fight and defeat the Democratic Party-led corrupt trade union bureaucracy. Because if we keep doing the way that we're doing, the Elon Musk of this world, and the Zuckerbergs, and the Fishers, and the JP Morgans, the Chase Manhattan banks, all these corrupt capitalist plutocrats will keep sending us into deeper impoverishment. So I just want to end up right here and say, let's build a workers' party. Workers of the world unite. Let's bury the capitalist system.
This rally, as far as I know, is the first one that's been held against Musk's takeover of Twitter. And we want to support, I understand there's some efforts to unionize the Twitter workers. We want to support that. The workers need to have a union to defend themselves. If Musk takes this over, they're in deep trouble. Evidenced by what we heard about Tesla and how he treated the workers there. So we have to stand up. Our committee, United Front Committee for a Labor Party, is organizing internationally against capitalists, against the billionaires, and we're for a united front against fascism. There's a growing threat of fascism in this country, and the ideology of fascist. And Musk has said that he wants to open up Twitter to that ideology. He thinks that that's freedom. Well, actually, fascist ideology is not freedom. The fascists are encouraging massacres, they're encouraging racist attacks, they're encouraging ideology that threatens working people here and around the world. We need unity between all workers, black, brown, gay, white, on the basis of workers united can never be defeated. So we reject Musk takeover of Twitter. We call for the unionization of Twitter. We call for the unionization of Tesla. We say solidarity forever. Solidarity of all working people for human rights. Solidarity. Stop union busting. Stop union busting.
When the union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run, there can be no greater power anywhere beneath the sun. Yet what force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one? But the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. It is we who wash the dishes, scrub the floors and chase the dirt, feed the kids and send them off to school, and then we go to work, where we work for half the wages. For a boss who likes to flirt, but the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. But the union makes us strong.